Thank you all for coming, but also thank you for letting us know where you're calling in from. It's always interesting to see new places, different parts of the world, and to keep this a global event. But today is our May, I guess, slash June analytics Tableau user group meeting. I'm Sedale in the East Coast, and Sam is here all the way in Australia. We'll talk a little more about that in a second. Also, this is our first one after being the best tug of the year, which was super exciting. For those that don't know, the Busies happened during Tableau conference, and as you can see, there were about 50 nominees, and we ended up winning best tug, which is awesome and more a testament to you all than us. We appreciate everybody for coming on and being such a great active group. And that's been really a part of why we keep doing it as much as we do it. So if you guys keep coming and keep asking all great questions, we'll keep being able to get all these awesome speakers. Sam, I know you were there live. What was it like accepting the award at TC?
Surprising. It was fantastic actually. It was really fun because we're in a little Story Points theatre and we had to have these headphones on to actually hear because we're in the sort of the full data village. So it was really fun to see Matt and Em up there, Em looking so glamorous and Matt looking like half glam, half bed, basically ready for bed with his slippers. So that was hilarious. But being able to be there in person was just super fun to help celebrate everybody in their nominations and their wins. And then to win was just a super surprise. It was
Yeah,
also lovely because it was basically the first time I'd just met Annabelle the first time the day before. So it was an absolute joy. Yeah, it was great.
that's awesome. Yeah, well, yeah, it was really cool. And here's to even more of that. So, to that end, I think some of the reasons that we tend to do very well as a tug is some of what we have here. First and foremost, this is a completely global group. So unlike the Boston tug or Atlanta tug, it's not really focused on a specific place. We can get people literally from anywhere in the world as long as they have an internet connection, which is great. We tend to have, well, I think the original goal was to maybe go to 6 to 8 weeks, but so far we've done them every single month, just because we get a lot of really awesome speakers. So perhaps we'll go to 6 to 8 weeks, but for now, it's really kind of every month. And it's all focused on analytics. So you'll hear some design talks today, you'll hear some talks on storytelling, but all of it's focused on how do we actually get useful information out of our data? How do we make use of it? And so that's another thing that's a little bit different for this group. We do have a forum that's under analytics user group. We also have our user group page here, which a lot of you probably have access to now since you've joined us here today. The last thing I will say that I find really cool, and maybe slightly different, is we often get people from Tableau here to talk about what's going on, and we have one of those sessions here today, and we'll have another one in a couple of sessions. So always excited, and you guys will get to hear from Tableau themselves at most of our events. This is our global team. Annabelle is not here today because it is 1 a.m. her time. So you have Sam and I here today. So we'll introduce ourselves really quickly. I am Sedale. I am, in addition to being a Tableau desktop specialist, was a featured author last year. I'm a part of our community equity task force, along with Kim Lee, who's now a new member of that group, and we work a lot on issues related to equity and justice in both the data community, but also in the data itself, all in addition to leading this awesome group. My upbringing in, I guess, Tableau has been all focused on just telling really awesome stories. And so for my clients, trying to help them understand their world, that's where I come into the Tableau world. And when I'm not visiting or hanging out with you all, you can find me either trying new wines or talking sports. The finals are tomorrow. Hopefully, there are some basketball fans. I'm happy to chat about things related to that if anyone wants to. Sam, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Sam Batchelor based in Brisbane, Australia. I've been working with Tableau for quite a few years now, maybe five, maybe six. I am the data visualization lead for Origin Energy. which is an Australian energy company, and I do the workbook development, but also sort of a lot of the server SME and maintenance and data viz strategy, coaching other developers. And I have been a trainer previously in a couple of years ago, doing the Tableau desktop courses around Australia. I love to create fun data viz t-shirts. I have got one viz of the day for Hamilton viz, but I love doing as you can see, the Mario Nintendo type of just fun little vizzes there. And I managed to change my profile picture, that one down the bottom. That's one that I took at TC, so I thought, well, I better swap that out and get a new profile pic for this year. That's me.
Nice. Uh, all right. And so very quickly before we get to our speakers, we do have kind of a chat section, which everyone has been making use of. And as you can see, especially in the beginning, it moves pretty quickly. So if you just want to say, wow, that was really cool, or kind of give a comment about the things you're seeing, awesome, please use the chat function. If you have a question, when you hover over your screen, you'll see right next to chat, you'll see Q&A. Please use the Q&A. That's where we'll go to ask any questions of our speakers. I usually collect the questions there. We can't guarantee you'll see your questions in the chat, so please use the Q&A. The other important thing is all of the session is being recorded. I'm sure you heard it when you came on. That will go on Tableau's YouTube channel, so no need to worry about notes or worried about catching something. It'll be back on YouTube within the next couple of days. Along with, we send out in an email, we'll send any workbooks, any resources that our speakers are open to us sharing at the end of the session. Also, feel free to use social media. We're at Analytics Tug just about everywhere. With that, I think I've done my intro, and I'll let Sam start to introduce our first speaker. Oh, you are on mute.
I am. So we'll have Erik from Tableau first, and then we'll go to Kimberly, and then we'll go to Rob, who's going to take us through Figma. I just wanted to do a couple of slides around TC, though. I managed to make it over to Tableau conference. I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago. But it was really worth the effort. So even for us coming from the other side of the world, and traveling for an inordinate number of hours, it's really worth it just to meet the people that you've been chatting to virtually over the last few years, maybe the people you follow on Twitter or LinkedIn, or meet new people, just run into people. You can see on the left-hand side that was asked before Kimberly was on stage doing Iron Viz finals, and this is part of the Mums Who Viz group, just sending her out some love and cheering like we couldn't cheer anymore for her. And the other two are just around the data night out. One was held, the party was at the MGM Grand. It's just super fun. People are so friendly. It was just wonderful. I get you to go to the next slide, please, Sedale. I just wanted to do, is there one before, or is that one? Oh yeah, it's just basically to say this was actually the first time I met Annabelle in person. So again, people that you've worked with or you've chatted with for the last couple of years, it's really lovely just to make the effort and just go and say hi to people in person and kind of make those more personal connections. It's just wonderful. And the next one. This was a shout out to Caroline. I think she's probably jumped off the call, but she actually created the analytics tug. It was her idea, and she supports us along with her team to make this happen every month. I just wanted to do a shout out for her because she was a superstar at the Tableau conference. If you watched any of the virtual live streams, she was doing a lot of the hosting and the interviews and all of that kind of stuff. She actually now has her own hashtag called DataM. So just wanted to say a real thank you to her and just a shout out. Yeah. This next slide, please. Okay, so just wanted to introduce Erik. I'll probably get him to do a little intro about himself if he wants to, but basically to say he's a principal solutions engineer at Tableau, has a lot of experience, loves Tableau conference, which is fantastic. So if you go to Tableau conference, you should seek him out and go say hi. He's also a mobile champion as well, so he's actually going to show us some of that functionality as well in his demo. So he's just going to take us through some of the recently announced Tableau updates. So thank you very much, Erik, for being here, and let's go.
All right, Sam, thank you very much for that. By the way, I am really jealous that you got to present at Story Points Theater. I have always wanted to do that. It just looks like such a funny experience to do that. So good on you for getting to do that. And Sedale, next time you're in town or next time we're in the same place, let's do a little wine tasting.
Absolutely.
Sam, you're of course invited to, Sam. Hi everyone, thank you very much for the introduction. Thanks for having me. This is fun for me. I spend a lot of time talking to my customers. Again, my name's Erik Teutsch. Principal Solution Engineer just means that I've been around Tableau for a long time, in my case, 10.5 years. It also basically means I'm the nerd half of the sales team. So emphasis, bolding, underlining on the nerd part of this. My favorite thing about Tableau, honestly, is the community. And it's weird that I'm getting just slightly choked up about that, but there you go. It's been a tough couple of years here. Tableau conference is astounding. For those of you who haven't been there, the sessions that you get, the hanging out with people, getting to talk to, people from all over the world who share this interest in data visualization. Iron Viz, which is amazing. I'm dying to hear what Kinley's got to say, because that's the first time in years that I've actually had the schedule allow me to actually be in the room. So awesome. Devs on stage. Obviously, anybody who's been there will vouch that we put on really great parties. But of course, like any good tech conference, that's where we make our big splashy announcements, right? So TC is always part of that. Oftentimes also a little bit of a look ahead as to what's coming, what people are working on. We got a little bit of that this year. This year was certainly no exception to that. Should I give you guys a second to read this? You guys want to scan it really carefully?
Already.
Oh my God, I never get past the first 5 words. But anyways, basically, don't make any buying decisions based on anything that you see here that's not actually part of the product today, right? This year, Tableau keynote, the big 3 were, of course, Tableau Cloud, Data Stories, Model Builder. And we'll talk about these things plus a few other things that, over the next 35 minutes or so. We'll demo a couple of them, not quite as much as I would like because they don't give me access to alpha code and that sort of thing. But we'll talk. We'll see what we can do here. Now, Tableau Cloud is obviously, or possibly not, a Salesforce rebranding of Tableau Online. It makes some sense to align to the way Salesforce brands itself and rebrands itself every. Anyway, there's a lot of renaming that goes on there. It's my relatively new experience with these guys. But it's also kind of a signal that it's a new emphasis on Tableau and moving Tableau to the cloud. Key additions around security, scalability, connectedness, and all of that. The other big one was, of course, data stories, which really bring analysis to life by providing natural language readouts of dashboards. The headlines in the news, like headlines in your newspaper sort of thing. And then Model Builder is this next step in extending the reach of data science to business users natively inside Tableau with no external services needed. I think that's a really big deal, and I think you ought to drag my friend Nathan into one of these and get him to talk about it more deeply, because he does have access to that code. And of course, we've continued to invest in a lot of other things that makes the lives of analysts like you and me, makes our lives better. So what do you think? Should we take a look? Yes? Yes. Okay, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's the disadvantage of being on the web is I can't hear anybody. I can't make you guys yell and talk and stuff like that. So July 17th, 2013, I was about 2 years into my Tableau journey when we rolled out Tableau online. And as I said before, this is more than a rebrand. It is a new commitment to helping customers see and understand data without having to build and maintain complex, expensive hardware stacks, requiring tons of people to build and maintain, and VMs and bare metal hardware, all of that good stuff. And it's very much in line with Salesforce's initial mission to bring CRM to companies without having to build those big, heavy, complex systems. And I think they did pretty good with it. So I'm kind of curious to see how this thing goes. Now, it's of course been growing pretty rapidly, especially over the last couple of years, to the point where it does make up the bulk of our new business. Customers, I work in the enterprise space, and a lot of my customers have been, we're never moving to the cloud. They've got all of this investment and all of this, this internal infrastructure, never going to move to the cloud. It's too insecure. It's too whatever. A lot of those folks are reconsidering. And especially for smaller companies or startups who don't have the resources or shouldn't have to spend the resources to maintain that, I think it's a great option. And especially with our work from anywhere world and that sort of thing. So all of this stuff is built in. It's upgraded 4 times per year. There's no VPN to slow you down, but it's secure. We do 2-factor authentication, like encryption, all of that sort of thing happens within there without anybody having to do anything except maintain your own content. I do love that this slide mentions scalability, because isn't the cloud just sort of inherently scalable? That's at least what they tell us, right? In addition to the rapid update cadence, we're offering some new advanced capabilities that come with this. For those of you who are familiar with server management and data management add-ons for Tableau Server, some of those components have been cobbled together to a new offering called Advanced Management, which will be available fairly soon, adding some of those capabilities, especially targeted at really big organizations who need to manage larger groups of people and groups of content at big scale without, it's just giving people extra tools. We'll actually get a little bit further into this down the line a bit, but there are also accelerators are a new way of kind of, they're pretty much what they sound like. They're a way to get people up and running with task or department specific or data source specific dashboards that you can wire up to your own actual data and use as a head start to build your own great dashboards. That's the way I tend to look at that particular thing. And all of that's actually going to be available on the Tableau Exchange, which along with dashboard extensions and some additional data connectors. That's all going to be, kind of one-stop shop for all of those things that you can add into Tableau, which I think is fantastic. Let's start with a little bit with narrative science here, the data stories component. So Narrative Science was a company that did this fantastic little add-in for Tableau dashboards that does natural language generation. We've been partnering with them for years. They were the top tech in the space, and they integrated really nicely and really easily with Tableau. So of course we bought them, and by we, I mean Salesforce in this case, but they were purchased specifically to come in and help add some capabilities to Tableau. We will add your technological and cultural distinctiveness to our own. Anyone? That's a shout out to all you Star Trek fans out there. All 3 of you. Everybody else is a Star Wars person, I can tell. Ultimately, this is about access to the narrative within your data. For people who are less well-versed in the ability, on how to read charts and look at dashboards and things like that, we're actually generating a story and also picking out some of the important information for you. So this is one of the things that I thought I'd show off for just a second here. We've got this dashboard. This isn't a bad dashboard, right? You've got the big KPIs along the top, that sort of thing. But what if we wanted to maybe get a little bit more depth to what's going on in that map? So maybe if we pop into this. So now we're here in web authoring. Screen resolution's a little wonky, but basically we're going to grab this little data story widget, which is now down here in the objects container on the dashboard. Let's just bring it out here. Hold on, let's do this, actually. Let's scroll across so I can actually hit the spot here. So if we drag that, right, let's just drop it in that container right there. And it's really simple to use just kind of as a start. It brings up this little dialog. You pick which worksheet you're going to work with. I did find the interface a little weird that I can't just click on fields. I have to hit next down here. And then for this demo, I think let's keep it simple. So we'll just keep it focused on state and maybe profit ratio. So you can just drag and drop these little pills in and out of the view. And then we can actually, so you'll notice it gives options about the kind of the best way to kind of look at this. And in this case, you can see that it's actually choosing discrete, which it thinks is the best fit for this. So let's go with that. But you can manually choose others, and we'll update the stories this way. You know, the percent of whole, things like that. But once you've got the selections made at this level, you simply hit done. And that's kind of the story here. Interesting that it saved about that, but anyway, we'll come back to this in a second. So beyond that, you have a few other settings that you can work with here. So if we click into the settings, you can actually describe how verbose the narrative is going to be. If we select low, even better, you can actually choose whether the viewers should or should not be allowed to work with that on their own. So you can actually allow that capability, and then users can switch in and out of low, medium, or high. You can set the number of drill downs. There are also some characteristics that we can work with here. So we can actually change things like the number format, specifying the suffix for any large values, things like that, decimal places, negative values. So if we wanted to make, do something like that, pretty straightforward. Analytics, you can actually talk about some of the tweaks that you can make here around clustering and distributions. Dimension drivers, again, the same sorts of things that you can do here. Relationships, if there were more than one, if there was more than one measure involved here, if you had, one versus another, you can set actual versus benchmark and pick which two fields, which one is which, essentially. Same thing with time-based, where you can actually, look at kind of table calc like behaviors. And then you can change the style from, I'm a bullet point guy, but you could make it a paragraph as well. Bump the fonts a little bit, hit save. And then what I was apparently, the other thing that I was kind of messing around with was to actually add a show hide button on this. And then you can kind of have it. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to have to redo that one. We'll make it work the way it's supposed to work here. So add that show hide button. You can kind of format it however you want. Obviously, I did it as a text button earlier. But simple as that, and then publish, and you're off and running, and then it's out there. And you've got your data story when you want it. Pretty much like that.
Nice. You
Right?
mentioned
Not bad.
drill downs, Eric. I hope it's okay if I ask
Yes.
the question. What was the drill like? I think it said enable drill downs in the story. What would that look like? I don't quite get that in my head.
Oh, that I'm sorry, I should have actually shown that. The idea is that if you had like a hierarchical drill down into, from category, just sticking with
Subcategory.
Superstore, yeah, category, subcategory, product, that kind of drill down.
So that would be the drill down would be available within the data story within the
Yeah.
text. and or is it saying that it would reflect as you drill down in the actual
It would
header?
actually update the story.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, awesome. And we do have a couple of questions already. I don't know if you want to, if you can pivot just to have a quick look at the
Sure.
Q&A. I just think at this juncture, it's probably a good idea to cover off, if you could, just quickly cover off some of those questions. I'm happy to read
Sure.
them out, or if you.
Okay, so the first one is around data stories. Data stories is actually a completely separate feature from I'm sorry, I should read the question. Now that we have data stories coming out, how will this impact the existing story component? The answer is that it won't. They're actually separate features, though, you know, in the style of Salesforce renaming things, I think one or the other should probably get renamed. But the story functionality that's already in Tableau, where you can actually tab through different views and that sort of thing, that's going to be unchanged. For Tableau Online, moving smoothly to Tableau Cloud. So yeah, there's no change between Tableau Online today as it sits and Tableau Cloud. It is literally just a branding change. So no worries on that. I think that probably picks off the difference between Tableau Cloud and Tableau. Oh, difference between Tableau Cloud and Tableau Server. It is all the same underlying code, essentially. Tableau Server is just you install and maintain on your own infrastructure. Which release is data stories coming from? That's actually on one of my slides in a second here, but it's coming soon. Can we use data stories to generate headlines? Unknown on that front. Data stories, yeah, let's see here. Did I catch every one of these? Can the context of the data story be free flow text of anything the user thinks of typing in? No, that's actually, we're generating the language around that one. Couple more on that. Data stories do work with table calculations and level of detail calculations. Work with any measure within Tableau. Data stories do not impact licensing prices at all. And there's the third answer for data stories when they become available. So let's pop back over here.
Thanks very much, Erik.
You betcha. It's not on that list. Where was it? I'll dig that up a little later. I think data stories are actually in 2022.2. Don't quote me on that. We'll find it later. Okay, Tableau Accelerators. You know, obviously we're all here because we love analyzing data. We love building dashboards and building really beautiful things. But there are times when we just have to get something built and published. So, and I don't know about you, but every once in a while, you sit down in front of something and you know you have to get something built, and you stare at a blank canvas and it's like, where do I go? How do I do this? This is what accelerators are for. This is sort of Salesforce marketing speak, but to me, these are great sample dashboards built by professionals who really do know what they're doing with these things. You can build them, you can use these directly by swapping out data sources from your the existing sample data source to your own data sources. Obviously, you could tweak these things. They're fully functional dashboards. A lot of really good stuff in them. And they, of course, as I mentioned earlier, these things live on the Tableau Exchange along with web data connectors, which my friend Nathan also talked about, and a bunch of other really cool things. So now, one of the things that, well, I'll tell you what, let's just take a look at it. We'll kind of talk about this as we get into it. So one way to kind of like think of accelerators is, let me get rid of that thing. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the little toolbar, I'm gonna make that thing go up. Yeah, okay, never mind. We'll just do it this way. The Tableau Exchange. So this is the Tableau Exchange. It's literally exchange.tableau.com. It's as simple as basically kind of clicking in You can just scroll, you can look at that sort of functionality. So if I wanted to be maybe interested in, marketing or something like that, we'll actually zoom in. And we've got some of these dashboards. You can see who the publishers are. These can be built either by Tableau partners or by Tableau itself. And it's pretty much this simple. You click in, you'll get a deeper description. A lot of these have screenshots like this one down here. This is actually a really nice looking, clever dashboard. And then if you're interested in it, you can simply download it. Very straightforward, very simple to kind of do. The other place that these live is here, right inside Tableau. This is my Tableau Online, demo site. And you can actually, if I was interested in looking at these, somebody was asking earlier today about whether these were the starters. So the old starter dashboard program has actually been rolled right into this accelerators thing. If you click into one of these, you can actually grab it either using sample data or signing directly into your Salesforce account or your Marketo account or whatever, and just go ahead and grab, and it'll actually launch in just a second here. Really, really slick way of making this accessible to just about anybody who needs or wants to have, a little bit, just a different starting place. And again, as you can kind of see, this is a fully functional workbook. The screen resolution isn't great for web authoring, but there you go. I mean, come in here, build things, rearrange as you see fit, wire it up to a different data source. It's all pretty well available right here. Let's see if there are any questions that I'm missing here. Let's see, accelerators and data story only available on Tableau Cloud. They are available both. So Tableau accelerators are available from the exchange, and you can download them from there and publish them to wherever you want. The inline accelerators, I think, are only available in kind of in that format that I just showed, where I just grabbed it from my own site. They'll only show up here in Tableau Online, but these will be available on the exchange as well, so you can go hunt them down up there. All right. Okay, so I think I picked off most of the questions. Oh, good question. There's the can we put data stories into Tooltip? I don't know. I don't think so, just the way I'm kind of thinking about them working, but I think that's a great feature selection suggestion. So maybe somebody should drop that in the communities forum. Right now, all of the accelerators are free. I don't know whether at some points some of them will be for pay as well. I think most of them are free though. I don't really, don't quote me on that one. Okay, next one. So AI, business science, all of that stuff. Obviously, AI and ML are big topics. We've got computers telling us what to do, or humans who write algorithms telling us what to do. So what could possibly go wrong with any of that, right? There are some really amazing things that I think we've done with it, and that a lot of people out there are doing with it in all seriousness, though. And of course, we use ML in our products, like in Ask Data. One of the things that was shown actually at Tableau that I think is fantastic for people is, I mean, Ask Data was already cool because it literally gives you the ability to, type a statement, which gets translated from human language into VizQL, which then gets translated into SQL, which gets passed back through VizQL into a data visualization. This is literally having a conversation with your data. And while I might prefer to do it with a drag and drop, there are a lot of people who aren't comfortable with that. And this gives people a way to really easily think of a question and ask it, right? Although, in practice, that's still a little bit tricky. So one of the things, not that one, this one, there we go. So one of the things that we've done is we've added a new sort of phrase builder. So if we go in here, I'm going to build a quick lens here, tug lens, something like that. And we'll put it here, build a little lens. So a lens is simply a structure that can be customized. So you can take a big data source, carve it down to just the fields you want. So if you wanted to make sure that, if you wanted to select all, but then maybe leave out personal information like customer ID, you can do that. You can re-alias things. I won't get too far into that, but the cool thing about this little bit of ML is that you can actually see that when I start to use the lens with Ask Data, it automatically starts populating things. So you can simply click and Tableau will start to build the visualization. So if I wanted to see it by region, something like that, you can drill in and then start adding additional bits. And it's also building, it kind of builds the phrase up here. And you can also say, you know, let's try furniture. One of my favorite things about the natural language processing here is that you notice I started typing with furniture. It picked up not only the word, but it actually understood that furniture is part of the category order. So if I click that and then press enter, it'll actually initiate a filter, which didn't change much visually, but it starts to filter this thing. So it's a really nice interactive experience and a very intelligent experience that should allow end users who are a little bit afraid of their data to communicate and have conversations with their data in ways that they really can't with any other product right now. So I'm obviously really excited about that as well. Now we're into the things, unfortunately, that I can't demo right now, but one of the really cool things about joining Salesforce was gaining access to all of their toys, right? So one of the big ones was their machine learning engine, Einstein Discovery. So the connect and go experience that Tableau has built to extend this is being incorporated, I should say, into that connect and go experience that you have with Tableau, extended all the way into data science. So it's native, it's fully integrated. It leverages all of the data connections and the security that's already there within Tableau. It's on top of this Einstein Discovery engine. You can have it built by domain experience, but this should ideally lead to better decisions being made faster. And it really is intended to bring data science to business users. So this is, again, this is like us trying to push the boundaries of the hard stuff into where it's more accessible for people who don't necessarily have deep technical skills around, coding in Python and that sort of thing. Scenario Planner is another one of those tools that they talked about that I got excited about and then realized I can't actually play with it yet. It was featured, for those of you who were at TC, it was featured in the Idea Lab, which was out in the Data Village. And devs were actually showing the tool off a little bit and getting feedback from people as they're very early in the actual building phase. So really cool. And that's, by the way, another great reason to go to Tableau conference, is you actually get to talk to the developers and they're going to be showing stuff like this all the time. This tool is built on the Einstein Discovery engine and Explain Data, which was another Tableau acquisition from a couple of years ago. And it will be a separate product. It should be really powerful and really useful when it finally gets out to market. Data orientation. This is obviously what happens when you let devs name products. I'm very happy to know that we're not sure that this is what it's going to be called. But one of the great things about Tableau for me is always this ability to be like really flexible and fluid with building, using things to build other things, like, putting a text box plus a show hide button. And you can put instructions on your dashboard on how to use it. But it still doesn't allow you necessarily to, it's all controlled by the author. You have to modify the dashboard in order to change things. This data orientation feature is going to enable us to kind of have a single place where all of this stuff lands, can be centrally managed. You have some augmented analytics here that'll be built in to catch like notable changes in this. So it's again a little piece of explained data kind of being dropped into this. Again, really, really cool, powerful stuff where we've taken really good ideas for things that people like you in the community did because it was a good idea, and we've actually built it into the product, which is a historical, one of the things that I think we've done really historically really well with Tableau is to see the good, not just to come up with our own roadmap and do stuff, but to actually see what people are doing and try to make it easier and certainly more scalable, and in a lot of cases also like enterprise ready, right? So that's what this is all about. Table extensions. Now I stopped coding in 2006 and I swore I'd never code again. This thing makes me want to learn Python. This is literally the ability to like write code that can be run at connection time to materialize like tweaks in data shape, or running a scoring model on top of whatever your data is, a survey or something like that. Again, this is something that my buddy Nathan demonstrated. By the way, tug owners and operators, Nathan Mannheimer, get him.
Yeah, I think
because
he's going to be on in a couple of months on this time.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to come back for that one just to harass him. This stuff is just like, yeah, I'm gonna take a month off and just learn Python. So to kind of sum that up again, I don't know why we didn't have this slide for the data storage thing. I think was good, but like this is all kind of like estimated when these things are coming out. So this stuff, some of this is middle to late to maybe the end of this year kind of time frames. Really fun stuff. I can't wait to see what y'all do with it when you get your hands on it.
Eric, just a quick question on
Yes.
that. I haven't got my head around scenario plan. That's the first thing I've heard about it. What does so the scenario is basically, is it like a predictor given different scenarios? I mean, is it reliant on Salesforce information, or is it in on any data set, or?
Some of that is TBD. My understanding is that it's actually kind of a resource planning tool where you can wire it up to your own data and use it to do a lot of what if analysis on existing scenarios and what it might look like, 6 months or a year from now or 3 years from now.
Right. Okay. Not when we're not sure if it's going to be a separate product, or no, it is going to be a separate
Oh,
product.
it is going to be a separate product. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
And, once again, remembering that forward-looking statement thing from the beginning of the presentation, right? Very, and I can actually just put it up and let everybody read it if they want.
Please don't.
I know, right? So one of the things that happened when Salesforce acquired Tableau is that they took the entire, what used to be Einstein Analytics, mashed it up into Tableau, and they renamed it TCRM, which was Tableau CRM, and then they renamed it again at the beginning of this year to CRMA, which is CRM Analytics essentially. But they're part of the family, and there really isn't a better tool if you're just trying to build a dashboard that needs to be actionable within Salesforce. So I've got a few quick slides on that. I'm running a little tight, so I'm going to go fast here. The nice thing about CRM Analytics, though, is that it is built in, it's native, it's easy to wire up to Salesforce data, and it's also really simple to kick off actions within Salesforce itself, because it's all there. It has all the permissions and all of that set up. one of, you can do things from a dashboard. You can actually do things like click on something that causes a service ticket to open up in Service Cloud or something along those lines. Where's my clicker? There we go. Revenue intelligence, another thing that actually is already on the market as of the beginning of this year. I was going to give Tableau's version numbers, but that doesn't really apply. This hit the market in earlier this year. This is essentially a set of dashboards built on top of known existing data within Salesforce, designed to help end users get a sense of where their revenue is coming from, give you some insight as to what kinds of actions to take, things like that. And it's all built on top of CRMA plus Einstein Discovery again. So it's, again, that ML engine within it. And it, of course, comes in flavors for industries and that sort of thing they're tuned to those kinds of industries and use cases, things like that, which is a very Salesforce sort of thing to do. But it's essentially plug and play is the way I understand it. So makes it really handy to get up and running if that's an important thing for your sales teams or whoever it's going to be. And then, again, same as before, don't make buying decisions on top of this stuff. Some other things that are coming out, like text clustering within Einstein Discovery. New version of Data Manager, which in my limited experience learning that tool, good idea. And then kind of the last little bit kind of coming back to Tableau, but also toward the integration. Most of you in this group are familiar with actions within Tableau. So filter actions, URL actions, set parameter actions, that sort of thing, which is your way to automate analysis within Tableau. Salesforce has had their own what they call action framework, which allows you to do things like what I was just talking about having, noticing something in a dashboard and being able to click on it and have a trouble ticket open up in Service Cloud or something like that. We're actually wiring up Tableau to do that. So you could actually do this from within a Tableau dashboard to kick off some other workflow. And what this little animation here actually, because it's not really built yet, what you're actually seeing there in the background, that's actually a CRMA dashboard, not a Tableau dashboard. But this animation, this whole thing kind of hints toward some of the bigger integrations that we have coming, like not only being able to kick off, actions within Salesforce, but also to be able to kick off workflows within Slack and things like that. So for those of you who have Slack as part of your lives, this is going to be another cool thing to get to go out and play with as you get out there. And, once again, this stuff's entering beta at the end of the year, which, may mean that it's out by Q1, Q2 next year, all things, if everything works well. But again, this is, for those of you who aren't in the beta program, it is a great way to get involved and play with some of the new toys, see what's going on, and provide feedback, which we still thrive on at Tableau. So there we go, only 1:30 over my allotted 35 minutes. That was a ton of stuff. What else do you want to know? Let me take a quick gander through the questions. Data stories into alerts and automation. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I'm very curious about that. That's another one of those things that maybe. I'll go with that one for now. And you see, now I'm trying to figure out how that would work. I shouldn't do that right now. Ask data lenses don't take up much space at all. They're very thin bit of XML in there. It's super light. You could build thousands of them and not really have any significant impact on disk space. And then model builder, will it work if you don't have Salesforce? Yeah, that's the idea, is we're actually taking that chunk of the Einstein Discovery brain and dropping it into the Tableau product. So we're taking, so that's the real gold there.
Perfect.
Nice. And if I could ask a quick general question, if you are
Mhm.
just wondering about how to keep tabs, obviously there are things happening in 2022.1 through the foreseeable future. How do people
Mhm.
stay up to date on when these things are rolling out and when they'll be able to update their own product?
When you want to know what's coming, get into the beta program. That'll give you a good hint. Stuff doesn't always make it from it's pre-release.tableau.com. The other thing, let me see if I can actually find the link and drop it into a chat. But there's somebody built the Tableau Release Navigator, which is a great way to kind of see which products. See, where can everybody see things if I drop it in? Would it be chat or Q&A?
Chat, please.
Chat. Okay, so let me pop open the chat. Go here is the pre-release, or not the pre-release. This is the Tableau Release Navigator, which is a fantastic resource for knowing what features come with which version. So it's everything up to the current version. I forget who even owns it. It's possible that one of my old colleagues built it a few years ago, and then I think somebody else took it over. So those are great places to look. Anything else?
I think there might be a couple, but if you don't mind, I know you said you could hang out a little bit. You could type some of those answers in while
Sure.
Kimberly is going next.
Yes, I shall do so.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your
you
attention, everyone.
so much.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm gonna borrow this from you.
Give that back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Eric. It's given us, I think, a lot of information and also a lot more questions. There's so much coming up in the
Always.
pipeline. But you know,
Always.
that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Yeah, so we'd love to. We're really, really happy to have Kimberly Scott talking next. I did quickly get to meet you, Kimberly, at DC, and give you a quick hug in the Vizies, which was a joy. I know you were super busy, and just want to congratulate you so much for being an Iron Viz finalist. Literally, one of the reasons I went over to TC is to be able to just be there, like scream, like a cheerleader for you in the crowd. But yeah, so for everybody, you need very little introduction, but Kimberly was one of the Iron Viz finalists just recently, 2 weeks ago. She's a Tableau Public Ambassador, 11 times Viz of the Day, 2021 and 2022 Vizzy winner for Data Storyteller Extraordinaire, which is a pretty amazing feat. Work at LUXASIA, working with Tableau for about 4.5 years, and very much involved in the community with regards to your equity groups, Project Health, Mums Who Viz, Iron Quest, etc. And as we heard from the Iron Viz intro, we saw you have 2 lovely young daughters that keep you busy, which is wonderful. Just wanted to say as well, I really appreciated your presentation during Iron Viz. It was, so heartfelt, so personal. There was a lot of tweets that I saw, and people that are around me, they're just quietly tapping the sides of their eyes, because it really brought it home for a lot of people what data is, what storytelling can do, what it means to people with the stories that we tell. It was very heartfelt, and it was just really wonderful. And I really loved the fact that you said, I think it was even in your intro, it was lovely. You hadn't seen people that looked like you on the Iron Viz stage before, and that really resonated with me as well. I love that. I just love that, for so many reasons. So I know that we said your presentation was storytelling with data, but it's actually going to be collapsible containers, which I got my pen ready to make my notes, and we'll just have a chat about Iron Viz with any time that we have left, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. So really appreciate having you and your time after your school run. So yeah, do you want to take it away, Kimberly?
Yes, thank you so much, Sam. That was a great intro, and thank you so much for having me and inviting me to join the tug. This is actually the first tug that I've spoken at, so please, be gentle. And it might seem a bit nervous. That's you know, that's probably why.
That's all right. That's all good. That's wonderful.
Okay, so like Sam said, I'm this finalist, Tableau Public Ambassador, and she did mention all the other community projects that I take part in as well. But I just want to give a plug for diversity in data. So I've just joined as co-lead, working with Autumn, Eve Thomas, and Severio. So that's really exciting. So if you want to, you know, get involved in that, jump on Twitter. We've got the next data up ready for everyone to kind of get involved.
Wonderful.
Okay, so let me, okay. I'm just trying to share my screen here. So I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of the collapsible containers that I created in my IronViz, and just talk a bit about why I chose to do collapsible containers, a bit about my thought process in terms of the design and the storytelling and the story that I wanted to bring out.
Lovely. That's great. That's coming through now. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, I don't really have any slides, so I thought I'd just go in and just show everyone kind of what I did. So it's not really your standard collapsible containers where, you know, you click show hide. What I tried to do was to incorporate that functionality in order to tell my story. So when you first open up the workbook, what you would see is kind of what looks like a half finished visualization. So you probably all saw this on the big screen in IronViz, but I wanted to kind of have something to aid my storytelling when I was presenting and going through my talk. So rather than having everything on screen, I wanted to step people through the flow and the process and the thought pattern that I went through when I put this together. So what you'll see here is that if I show this, oops, hang on, nope, that's not what I want to do. Show, we see a chart, but then we get the call to action to go on to the next part of the story. And then when I click that, I show, and then we see the next chart, which provides us information about, you know, access to education. And then the last one, if I click show, we get our last bit of the viz, and that's the complete viz. So the way that I kind of designed this was that I didn't want the ability to kind of click through to the next section until the first section had been expanded. And this was done using a series of nested containers. So I think the best way to kind of show everyone is if I actually build this. Now, bear in mind that after TC and after IronViz, I just completely shut down and forgot about everything after, you know, practicing this build. You're trying to do it in 20 minutes. So let's see if I can do it.
You can take your time. There is no countdown, Kimberly.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was very stressful, and I don't know whether you noticed that I was like the last person to finish, and like with, you know, 20 seconds to go, I was still kind of working on my viz and still trying to get everything completed. So it was, yeah, quite nerve-wracking.
I have no idea how you guys did that and managed to keep working with the noise and the production that was going on.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Now, for some reason, I've lost on my sheet, so this is not a good start.
No, it's brilliant.
How I get my sheets back. Okay, so this is not a good start, is it?
No, it's a...
What happened to my sheets? Okay, anyway, what I might do is
Are they hidden?
yeah, they're hidden, but you should still be able to see them, shouldn't you?
Should just unhide them from the dashboard. Is that what you want to do, type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, just right mouse click on the tab and then unhide or jump through.
Unhide sheet. Oops. I'll just do the first one just to show everyone, and then we can talk about IronViz.
Yeah, I looked at the Viz again this morning, and I was thinking, oh, okay, collapsible containers, and then I just couldn't quite get my head around what you'd done. So I really appreciate you taking me through it. Just like,
Okay, so I think I have enough in there to create something. So let's just see how we go. All right, so because I've got a series of 3 containers in there, when I was practicing, I'd start off with the first one just because, you know, it's the first one there. But then I kind of got a bit confused because you kind of have to nest the containers within each other. So what I found the best thing to do was to start with the last one and then work back up. So I am floating all the way. So you probably notice in my vizzes that everything is floating. I do that for my personal vizzes just because it allows me to kind of, you know, align things and put containers and charts where I want them to go. I still haven't mastered the art of, like, you know, the tiled yet. So for this case, it was all floating. So what I want to do is I want to bring in a vertical container, and again, it's floating. So I'll just add some sheets into here, and it's not going to look pretty, but let's just see what it does. So just delete that. Okay, so I've got my container here, and what I want to do is I want to just make it a bit smaller. Add the show hide button. So it's a bit hard to see because it's dark on a dark background, but what I might do is I just might edit the button and make it a text. Just make it white. Now we can see it. Okay, so there's my the button to show and hide this particular container, and then I can bring in another container, and let's just bring in that one there. And then what I would do now is I would just bring in this container, this show hide button, and just put it into the container there. So what we have now is the first container with the show hide button. So if I click to hide this, we won't see the container at the bottom. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another button here. Okay, that should just be white. Okay, so I might just make this a bit smaller. And then that's my main button. So if I hide that, that will hide that, and then you can see that the text now changes to show. And if I hide that, so everything is gone now. So if I just give you the presentation view and click show, now you've got your first chart with the button shown now to show the next one. So basically it's just a series of containers where you've got your show hide button within the previous container, and then you can create the next one on top of that, and then the next one on top of that. So it's really that simple. And I just thought that was a really nice way to kind of aid the storytelling and, you know, reveal bits of the story as I went through in my presentation.
I think that's brilliant because, you know, it is kind of simple when you show it to us like that, but it's so effective. And I love the way that you kind of talked about building kind of that most nested part first, and then, you know, going layer by layer, not sort of starting at the start as you normally would, because that's what
Yeah.
where I think my brain kind of, you know.
Yeah, and same with me. And it was through the, practicing, and I kept getting it wrong. And
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do these containers, and maybe I should just have everything shown there. But after doing a bit of practicing and just a bit of thinking about it, I just found that starting from the bottom and working my way up was the best way to do it.
I love it. And I think that it really helped when you're doing your presentation as well, because you're absolutely right. When you first look at that, and I put a link in the Q&A for anybody who wants to just have a look at the full viz. When you see it initially, you've got all this lovely, it's tall, but there's all of that sort of black space. And then kind of the insights just come, one after another, and you were able to speak to them. And I just thought that was absolutely beautiful. It's just a lovely way to enhance your presentation as well. That was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So with regards to that picture, where did you draw it yourself, or with regards to the flashlight and the girl?
Yeah, so the flashlight image was created in Figma. I am not a Figma person, and Rob, you might have some better ideas of how to do this. But it took me so long to create that. So it was just like a lot of trial and error to get the gradient right, but also just to get that kind of triangular image. Like I went in to create a triangle, but it wasn't the right angle, and then I couldn't crop it. I didn't know how to crop it. So yeah, I think I need some lessons in Figma, but that was created.
We can hit that sort of thing.
And then that image was an image I found that I just kind of drew, and then brought it into Figma, so then I could create that matching the girl and the flashlight together. So and then I brought it into Tableau as a background text.
That's amazing. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And
So
sorry, you go ahead.
So if you want to see, I do have some examples of what it looked like before I put the girl in. So I don't know whether you can see this one. I did have the idea of the flashlight. So this is like an early iteration of what it looked like. And I thought, okay, it does work, but I think adding the girl in and having that perspective of like that personal perspective kind of had a better story behind it and made it more emotional, I think.
And isn't that interesting? It's just that placement of the image and adding that girl she's shining her own light effectively, and she's shining the light to everybody, and she's lighting her way. And, there's so many things that it kind of invokes just with that. And I think it's just a really important way. Like I certainly, day to day don't use a lot of evocative images at all. I think it's something that it's really not in my arsenal. So it's really great for other people to think, okay, well, how do we evoke those kind of images, with something like a picture. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. It can be like, images can be really powerful, I think, if used the correct image in the correct way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see, the journey to your final IronViz design as well. I find that super fascinating. How long did you take to kind of decide, I guess what your story would be, what data you're going to focus on? I mean, was it weeks, or how long did you actually have to?
We had just about on a month to come up with something, but of course that month includes the practice time, because you want time to practice. Like you've got 20 minutes to build this thing, so you want to make sure that you can build it in 20 minutes. So I wanted to allow as much time as possible to practice building. But the data set that we got 2 data sets, and it wasn't the best data set to work with. So coming up with the story was a little bit difficult. But I was putting my youngest daughter to bed, and I was thinking about IronViz, as you do. And I was just looking at it, and then it kind of hit me like, oh my God, maybe I can look at the story of Australia and Cambodia. And I didn't know what the literacy rates were. I just thought maybe I could compare them, and take the angle of putting myself in the viz and looking at how maybe my life would have been different if I didn't live in Australia. So I went back to the data set, and then I looked at the literacy rates, and they were quite different. As you can see, 99% for Australia and 73% for Cambodia. Okay, that's a good story. And then I looked at some of the other metrics in the data set, like the government expenditure on education, expected years of schooling and total years of schooling, and even like life expectancy and fertility rate. And I'm like, yes, this is my story. It fits a narrative, and it has this kind of personal aspect, which I like to put into my vizzes. If you've seen my work on Tableau Public, I've done some really quite personal vizzes before. So I thought this is a story that probably the other contestants are not going to focus on, and it's something that I can really speak to because I've had that lived experience. And so luckily the data kind of supported that idea of the comparison between the two.
No, that's awesome. And I would recommend everybody to jump onto Kinley's Tableau Public profile. We had a quick catch up, like I think a month ago, even before I knew you were going to be an Iron Viz finalist. And I looked through your portfolio, and I'm still blown away. They're just, the vizzes are insightful and beautiful, and they draw you in. So honestly, and we were initially going to do more of a story around some of those other vizzes, but we sort of pivoted, obviously. But so you had a month to prepare for Iron Viz. How much of the data, like, did you have to prep the data and clean it up a lot?
Yes, we did. So like I said, we got 2 data sets, and it wasn't the best data set. There were lots of blanks. So we had to use Tableau Prep to prep the data set. So, I didn't do anything near as technical and whizzy as CJ or Will did. I used Prep to rename the column headings so that it was something that is understandable and readable. And I think I used it to just to join the data so that I could have one data source as opposed to 2. So I really did really minimal prep in terms of putting this together, because I knew that what I wanted to do was to use simple charts, nothing too complicated. I've only got one calculated metric in this workbook, and that is just a calculated metric to create these bars. Right. In the slope chart. So all of these charts are just like standard charts that don't require any data prep. So I didn't want to spend all my time prepping, because I knew I wanted to do something simple and something that anybody could understand. So I wanted to focus on the design and on the storytelling aspect, and like I said, on practicing building it out as well, because I'm really slow when it comes to building in Tableau. So I had to practice so many times. Like the first time I found myself creating this viz, it took like 40 minutes to do. So so I'm like, I have to practice. Yeah.
And how did you cut that down to 20 minutes? Like, is it just practice, or did you find ways that you could shortcut?
It was just practice. So I had a piece of paper that I wrote down, chart 1, chart 2, chart 3, chart 4, and every time I practiced, I wrote down how long it took me. Oh, no. And every time I did it, I got quicker and quicker. So it's just practice. And then, at the end of the day, once you practice it so much, you don't even think about it. It's just muscle memory, like your hands just moving. Yeah. Because you know what you have to do. So it literally just practice.
That's incredible. And like, because you had a couple of days of rehearsals in Vegas beforehand, I guess, where you had to do it on stage. Mm-hmm. What did it feel like on stage?
On stage, it's really funny, because I was so nervous before I got on stage, because there's so much build up, it's the month beforehand, working on the viz, and then all these rehearsals, and then meeting everyone at TC. They're like, oh my god, I'm so excited for Iron Viz. So there's just so much build up. But when I got on stage, like, I just felt, I can do this. Like, I didn't feel nervous, I didn't feel scared. I could see, just the front row. Everything else was kind of black. So I could see Chris in the front row, and I could see Sarah Bartlett. And I saw Chris's Australian flag.
Yes.
And yeah, so once I got up there, they start the timer, and you kind of have to focus. You have to, everything else, forget about. You just have to focus on your screen and what you're doing. And yeah, that's kind of how I got through it.
That's fantastic. I have so many questions, anybody, but I know we don't have a super amount of time. Is there any other questions? I'm thinking, yeah, let's just jump to Kimberly. Can you see the questions and just go to the open tab?
The
And then,
Q&A.
yeah, the Q&A in the open, and just take a look there, and see if there's any questions that you can.
Yep. Okay. Did you sketch this out beforehand? Yes, I did actually. I did have a little sketch, which I think I brought up, but I won't bring it up again. But I knew I wanted to do something like a long form viz, because that's my style. That's what I do, and I hadn't seen anyone do that in Iron Viz before. Most of the Iron Vizes are just like the one screen. So so I did sketch it out. I knew what kind of graphs I wanted to use and kind of the layout. So yeah, I did sketch it out first. If you have time, would be very cool to write step-by-step instructions. Yeah, okay, yes, I think if you want me to write instructions, I will. I just thought, it's quite, in my mind, it'd be a short tutorial. But yeah, definitely. My service person was full of spicy trash talk. Yeah, so she's the best, Nina. She is the nicest person that you'll ever meet, but that I think that trash talk was kind of when she first came out with it, everyone was just like floored, like, oh my god, but it did add a lot of spice to the show. So
I think all the supervisors were incredible presenters and really added to the show. They were fantastic. And watching it back, I saw all of Nina's like, we're going to spotlight this and we're going to do this. And just all the Vizos. It's actually worth re-watching Iron Viz on YouTube to pick up all of those wonderful little sprinkles.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made it without her. She was just amazing, just like the support and bouncing ideas off her. And even on stage, I was just like, Nina, I'm so nervous. And she's like, you've got this. So I think if I didn't have her, I wouldn't have made it through.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful.
Did you meet up with your fellow competitors before? So we actually met up with, I met up with CJ and Will the first day of rehearsals, actually. So we talked to each other, online before. So we kind of already knew each other, but first time meeting in person was the first day of rehearsals, and they're absolutely amazing. Like you couldn't find any nicer competitors. I was so lucky to have them both.
That's awesome. And then the rehearsals was the first rehearsal on the Sunday before, or?
Yes, it was. Yeah, on the Sunday. Yeah.
So it was a couple of days before I can only imagine the amount of production and effort that it took to put on a show like that.
I really had no idea. Like if you look backstage, there's just so much going on there. Like I had no idea.
Exactly. And I talked to one of the guys who did the keynotes as well, and he said the amount of prep, there was months of prep that went into the data, devs on stage keynote and lines of laptops in the back, ready to go in case it failed, and all the stuff that we don't see, but you really appreciate, because it's a heck of a show that they put on, that's for sure.
Yes, it was actually quite amazing, like just the amount of work that goes into it.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions at the moment. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So appreciate your time, and certainly just that collapsible containers demo. I'm certainly going to figure out a way to utilize that for sure. So thank you so much. All right. We will probably go on to Rob Crocker. Yeah, lovely. So Rob is currently living in Santiago, Chile, but he has been a digital nomad for, I'm going to say, for previous 4 or 5 years maybe. Ended up in Brisbane for a couple of months where we got to hang out, and he would talk about acro yoga and magic coffees. And have some fun. So yeah, it's really lovely to have you on the Analytics Chug. A little bit more about you. You're a Tableau data dev ambassador, so it's really great. And I know you're really keen on integrating a lot of different stuff with Tableau. I'm currently a data visualization engineer, which I love that title as well, at Helix. And gosh, you kind of, you've run through a whole different, some consultancies and Apple, IBM, Nike, Pinterest. Currently, you're a new dad. Congratulations. And also you have another little one called Coco, which is your very large poodle. So we're looking forward to any of the squeaks and squeals for sure. Bulletproof coffee. So as you know, I'm a Figma noob, so I might ask some really stupid questions, but hopefully to help everybody else learn a bit about Figma. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah. Yes. So good to be at this session, and I have no structure. I've been using Figma for at least 3 years now. As a freelancer, hop in from one client to the next. I needed to iterate very quickly, but I needed to do this at a high level of quality and consistency, and I couldn't work effectively enough inside of Tableau's dashboard design environment. So I was using Sketch before Figma, but Figma came around and I tried Adobe XD for a minute. But anyway, I know too much about Figma to talk about it in 20 minutes. So let me share my screen. And the reason I bring up I don't have a structure, feel free to stop me at any point. I'll share this link. I've sort of redone my site to try and make it simpler. But if you go to courses, Figma Basics, this is free. You can do it in half your lunch break, and you will learn how to build dashboards, leveraging the best of Figma to use in Tableau. So if you check out now, but you do this course, that'll be great. I built this course with Joshua Hughes. If you've seen his work, it's amazing. So I stole his time to build that course. The audio quality is really bad because it was done in this room and I'm in a concrete box right now. So reason
for that now,
yeah.
we can. Is that
What's
right?
that?
We can sign up for that now.
Yeah. People probably sign up for that thing every day. I see constant little student hits. So that's cool. Yeah, reason this is up. So I work for a company called Helix now, trying to get into health tech, and finally did it. And the dashboard that we're going to talk about was actually recently mentioned in CNN. So we're going to talk about this dashboard, and we'll look under the hood and see how this was sort of put together. But again, stop me at any point. Okay, so enough Figma. So my little share panel, disable hide video. Oh, and hit the video panel. Floating meeting controls. Okay. So COVID viral surveillance, right? So when I came to Helix, I saw a dashboard kind of like this. Probably seen many dashboards kind of like this. And we're in Helix, or we're in Figma now. This is the canvas, the Figma design space. We've got some assets over on the left and a design panel over on the right. Figma is cross-platform and browser. So I can open this in the browser and do whatever I want. I can open this on Mac, which is where I am, or PC, all works the same, and it's free to use like as an individual. So it's kind of amazing. Yeah, so I started, redesigning it like this, trying to take baby steps. Then I made something like this, a little bit different, and we eventually got here. And this is what it currently looks like on the site. So why am I showing you these screenshots? Well, if we actually pull this over here, I don't have, let me put these side by side. So with Figma, I'm all about floating. So Kimberly was talking about floating. If your gem is tiled, cool, there is a place for tiled inside of floating. But with Figma, we leverage Figma to understand how to position things properly in space, and then take those coordinates and apply them to Tableau. So this dashboard, it's got a header, and it's got a show me button, show hide button that creates this container. So someone asked, like, hey, if I've got show hide containers and I want to, figure out where those are going to land, this is kind of how I do it. I'll put some colored rectangle on my frame, and I'll just like hide it in the layers panel, clicking this little eyeball to like remove it before sharing this background image. You'll see I've got this main section. This is the map. I've got Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and this chart down here, and then the legend. So all of these rectangles, this maps perfectly to Tableau's like X, Y, width, height. So I click on one of these guys, I look at the numbers, I go to Tableau, I punch it in. Is there a way to keep, my coordinates here in sync with Tableau? Haven't sorted that out yet. There may be a way with some fancy dev work and an extension, but I have not built that, and I don't think one exists. So if you want a fun like project, have at it. That would be awesome to see. But let's actually look at some of the coordinates and the current dashboard. So this is not it. This is not it. Neither is that. There we go. So let me put that on the side and Figma over here. Okay. So there we go. All right. So what I want to show you is like this frame, right? Frame, you could call it dashboard, you could call it an image, whatever. It essentially is an image, but I have these two gray boxes, right? I have these two gray boxes, and I wouldn't want those to appear in my dashboard. So if I just sort of group those and rename this layer as like should be hidden, something like that, and then remove them, I can select this frame and export it at 2x. So 2x is really important for text. If you export it at 1x, this text is actually going to like get pixelated in Tableau. So we export at like 2x. Let's go ahead and do that. Downloads, new image. And now if I go into this dashboard and edit the image, fit center, I'll show you another setting that's really important. And then we've got our new image, and we'll just click OK. That scooted over, probably because I'm using the wrong image, but that's it. Like if I remove this image, this is what we have, right? So why would I do all of this in Figma? I don't know how to bring back my controls for Zoom. Let's see, meeting view, floating meeting controls. Yeah, so thoughts. Why might you do this in Figma? I'll try to let people fill in the blanks.
So is it just because it gives you a lot more flexibility with bringing in images, putting them where you want, and having it in just that image layer? Is that sort of, you know, fonts?
Font's a big one. So Tableau Online, Tableau Cloud. What fonts can we use? We can use web-safe fonts. Unless you have Tableau server and you can install some. Maybe Tableau Cloud now has ways, but Tableau Online may have ways for you to install custom fonts, but I'm using TT Norm. If we go here and I click on this style, I'm using TT Norms, which is a custom font. It's not standard web font, sort of lines up with Helix's brand. And it's important that the dashboards that we make for whomever we're working for line up with their brand, right? So by creating this image in Figma, I can use everything that's available to me from a design standpoint, and then just bring that into Tableau. All that's off limits are the data-driven elements. So anything that is a data-driven element that's not static, that comes from Tableau. Anything that is static, that's just aesthetic, I will design that in Figma. Yeah.
And do you think sort of prototyping, you know, before you're actually doing the build, you know, is it best to do that in Figma? That's what you're saying. It's a lot easier and you can do that quicker.
Yeah, I can whip through it very quickly, which we can get into. So we'll get into that now. But can you bring up other vector graphics into Figma? Sure. So if I go to a site, and so this is a great icon. This is a great icon set called Phosphorus. If I want to take address book, let's click this guy. Let's download as anything or just copy and then paste it in here. Now I've got the frame, but also every vector of the SVG. So like if I want to make like, let's get that head so we can give them a hot head. Okay. So let's make them like that and pull this up. Now they're a little hothead. Yeah, I will delete that. But Phosphorus is also available in the Figma community. So I will go over to the Figma community. You'll see Phosphorus is here. But inside Figma, you can go to the community. I can browse using whatever account I want. I've got a couple. And if I look for icons, we'll see oodles and oodles of icons, right? And I don't know how to spell phosphorus well. Let me just go grab it. Oh, it's phosphor. I want to say phosphorus. Let's pop that in there. So I would duplicate this, which I have, and then inside, so just duplicate it, basically making a file for myself. And then inside of here, you'll see this is the icon set. These are all the icons that Phosphor has. Once I'm on and they have like different pages inside of Figma, which is great. So every one of these pages is a different like theme of this particular icon set. When I go to assets, I can publish this to my libraries. So these libraries, and I know I'm saying like a lot of things, but let me move this down. If I go over to this guy now, and I look at my assets, and I open up my libraries, we see phosphor icons. So I can check this. And then if I want to look for arrow, I'll get all these little arrows that I don't have to go to the web for. I don't have to do anything. They're just here. Now, if your company has an icon set, then you can use those and you can expose those. Helix does have an icon set, or besides an icon set, they've got components. So this is Helix's style guide. If I want to grab a footer to sort of bring into my mockup, I've got this like great footer right there to sort of append to my dashboard. Obviously, I wouldn't do this, but sort of an example of the pieces that you can bring out. Imagine you had a chart header or some illustration you wanted to add to your dashboard. You can do the same thing with that. Okay, so let's see.
I did have a question here, and it was just one I was going to ask myself. It's just around the pink and white stripes.
Sorry. Yep.
And so, the question is, your image in Figma is pink and white stripes. Why does the pink and white stripes not show up when you overlay it in your Tableau dashboard?
Yeah, so let's go through that. So I will show you how I would make a very quick dashboard. If I click F on my screen, that's the hotkey for a frame. A frame we can think of as sort of the container that everything goes inside of. When you click that F, you get all these options, right? And let's imagine we're designing for desktop. Let's go ahead and select this desktop configuration. So right now we've got a white container. That sort of white screen, where do I put something? Like, I don't know what I want to put anywhere. Like, where should this live? If we sort of take a note from our page from the print, like the print world, we can use a layout grid. So a layout grid, few different variants, grid, column, or rows. We're going to go with a 12 column grid. And the margin is sort of on the right and left hand side of your screen. Something divisible by 8/16 is decent. So like now we've got a structure. This is just something to help you, the designer of Figma, use to compose your space, to structure the design. So if I wanted to go ahead and say, all right, which I often do, like I'm gonna give myself a 100 pixel high header here, and then I'm just going to maybe like bring this in a little bit, and 1, 2, 3, 4, bump that down. Let's go in here and say, in Tableau, you wish you could do this, but you can't. Let me say the footer's down here and it's also 100 pixels. What if we wanted to, I want this to be half as tall. It would be great to be able to do math in Tableau. You can't, but you can in Figma. And we can then, put this down. I can quickly create some little containers. And let's say I want to make them like some different stroke and give them all a border radius. Maybe make them all just a little shorter. Sorry, I gave them all more border radius. Take the height down a little bit, and then grab them all and get them positioned in the center, both vertically and horizontally. Figma helps me out. So now I know if I want a 2x2 layout, I'm gonna have a viz in this cohort, like in this XY width height, in this XY width height, etc., etc. And it's like wicked fast. Yeah.
And what about if you did that? I mean, I'm still in the kind of, old, the PowerPoint world at the moment. I haven't been able to get into Figma, which I will do now. But, can you give it some quick comparisons of Figma does this or this is why you would use Figma over PowerPoint?
So I don't know PowerPoint well, other than it's been very painful to try and use.
It's probably not.
So let's do this.
Yeah. And I don't think PowerPoint does give you that, if you click on that, the inner, the grid, that it gives you all of the pixel height and all of that kind of stuff, the coordinates. So, yeah.
So Kevin, we asked, is it open resource free? It is. So it is. All right. So what about PowerPoint? I know that PowerPoint has a concept of grids, but like if I wanted to, let's see, what all have I prepared? Probably can't do this in PowerPoint. So where's this? Okay. So I was like, I'm gonna rebuild this, or I'm gonna rebuild this. And what I'd rather point out is like this dashboard. So this dashboard, good looking piece of work. These are text boxes, right? Text boxes with white text and Tableau's WYSIWYG editor up here, right? But this text box is discrete from this text box, is discrete from this one, on and on and on. And like there's custom padding applied to this text box independent of this. It is pretty exhausting to like maintain that. So I took the text from that dashboard, and then I threw it in here, and I copied the text, and we can like shift click any of these and adjust them however we want. We can, adjust their font however we like, to see how that layout works. And better yet, if I say that I'm gonna make like my favorite font. All right, so if we make something like, this is an embarrassing font, right? Hold on. I don't know what an embarrassing font is. There we go. So that's ridiculous, right? I'm gonna click these like 4 dots and create a new text style. My new text style is gonna be like must use, or always use. You can start to get into like building design systems, but this is just a silly example. If I then click on my text and I say, you know what, instead of this custom configuration that you've got going on for each of those elements, just use this. So now we have a style that's been put into a variable, essentially called always use. Now, if so I can delete this. Now in my styles pane, I've got this text style called always use. Well, I leave the company, I'm fired, because like this is the type that I told everyone they must use. Well, someone came in here and was like, no, we're gonna change this. And I don't have San Francisco in here. Let's go TT norms, but not TT norms pro, whatever. Okay, we're fixing this. Now we're gonna use TT norms, and it should take, let's see. Always use TT norms, great. I updated the style, but I haven't reloaded the screen. Let's see here. what this property is. I wonder if there's like a reload the screen thing. I don't know. Should have, I wonder if it's like, we're not going to overwrite those changes retroactively.
So the
Weird.
intention is that you could just update all the fonts to the same.
So yeah, you've got a like design system behind the scenes, and that is going to govern the style of all that you do. So because we're like kind of short on time, I'm going to show you what this looks like at a larger scale. To show you the power of this thing, go here. For charts on your dashboard to match up with the boxes you just created in Figma, do you set the same size of the chart to the same size as the floating box? Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So in Figma, I will just go to, like, if I want a chart here, I'll just click on this rectangle. Those are my coordinates, the end. Like, I put these elements that I know are going to be Tableau elements in this glaringly obvious style that should be replaced with something. So that's that. But if this is my like crazy collection of Figma things, if I go to, let's see, main and UI Pro, okay. This is a big file. Let's see, so done with that. Okay. Wait for this guy to load. So a lot of this stuff is out on the community. There is a Tableau UI kit created by Robert Janzik, I think. That's really nice for mocking up Tableau dashboards if you want. But this is another UI kit for making all sorts of things. One of the things is, in fact, dashboards. So if we look at these dashboards here, like these are all built with Figma, look kind of wild, but what I want to show is there are these atoms or foundational elements that exist in each of these charts. So if I click on this arc, it's the color, the fill style. So we saw a type style or a font style. This is a color style, and it's primary 600. So if we go to colors, and I find my primary 600, right? And I actually edit primary 600 to something else. Hopefully this will work. Figma has been acting very funny for me lately. Oh, did my screen completely freeze? Can y'all hear me? I think my screen might have frozen.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can hear you and I can see your camera. It just it does
Oh,
look
man.
like your Figma is saying it's done with the demo.
It
It's
is
worked too hard
done.
today.
Hold on. Reopen. Ah, okay. What did it do? What did it do? Oh, and that's like the. It would be nice if you could see that. Man. But
So
I
it's the
don't think it's gonna
intention
let
that it
us.
would change it universally.
It changes it everywhere. So if anyone's heard of atomic design, these are like atoms, right? And atoms like make up everything. So if Figma would let me, it would, oh, funky. It would change that color, and that would propagate throughout everything that was built using that color, referencing that color.
Wow.
So that way, if you wanted to go light theme, dark theme, you could easily do that with theming. So it's very powerful, and it sort of allows you to create products that or dashboards that scale. Ooh, it looks like it's just taking forever.
Yeah, it's
Like,
probably still processing, isn't it?
yeah, and
Yeah,
Figma
that's good.
isn't usually very slow, but let me go ahead and close that tab. But that is the gist of it. I was kind of working on an example for this, and this is also kind of work, but I was making this like long form post with all of these little components, and they're tied together. So if I wanted to adjust the let's get into this text. For some reason, I want to change it from this color to pink. It'll just apply to everywhere that component, that little guy, is used throughout my entire design. And these components, like while they're connected in some ways, they're also like separated in other ways. So I can change this title, and it doesn't affect the other titles. So I can inherit styles, but not have to worry about like being stuck with whatever that text is. So really powerful stuff. But don't have the time to go into all of the goodies. Other
There's some really
questions?
great feedback as well on just on the chat, actually, just talking about why you know, how people, when they've found Figma, you know, have just moved away from PowerPoint and haven't gone back because of that pixel sizes, and because it's kind of what did William say? It's very easy to have an ongoing design. Whereas in PowerPoint, it's very difficult to make changes due to the size of the boxes. You know, you get the pixels in Figma. So I think it sounds like something, once you get over the learning curve of Figma, it's, you know, it gives you so much more. What do you think? I mean, Robert, you said your course you can do in sort of, I guess, what sounds like half an hour. It was that, is that right? Like how long does it in reality though take to kind of get enough mastery to do what you'd like in Figma? Is it a couple of months, do you think, a couple of weeks, or, you know, if you
I mean, you can make these dashboards real quick with Figma. If you worked with Figma for a month, you'd be, you know, exceptional at Figma. It's
right.
really intuitive, especially if you're making static layouts. Figma's got a prototyping tool. You can use it as if it was PowerPoint. So there's a lot that you can do with Figma, but the basics are very intuitive and very powerful. I wish I could show you a lot more, because there is a lot more. Like if I want to, I don't know, make a rectangle that's some color, and I want variants of this rectangle, I can use this plugin called Tints and Shades, generate tints, and like I've got, you know, different shades that I can use, and I can see the individual like hex values of those that you can put in, you know, your preferences file for Tableau if you want. These can also be part of your styles. So like I just generated all those styles.
The tip you said before was when you export it at 2 times.
2x.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what is the file type that you export as? I think I missed that.
I export as PNG when I do it.
PNG.
Yeah.
And
can
you talk a little bit about the, you know, why you would do PNG or SVG over JPEG? Or
well, I know that, so what I do know about PNG is that you actually get transparency in some of the layers, whereas JPEG's a bitmap of like colored pixels. PNG, if something is at a level of like, you know, complete, not opaque at all, it's
Yeah.
transparent, it'll allow you to see through that. So you can actually make a layer and then show your visualization through that with the PNG.
Right.
An SVG is instructions. So like this is actually code. It in some ways looks like XML, and then PDF, like, I don't know what to do with that.
Okay.
Maybe that's similar to JPEG. Yeah, exactly. PDF, I feel like no. But if I was making something that needed to be in a PDF format, which sometimes people want things in a PDF format, you can absolutely do that. Gosh, there's like too much I want to show y'all.
Yeah.
This is another plugin that allows you to make charts. So like if you want to, prototype something or mock something up, this chart plugin is also amazing. So anyway, I'll stop there, but y'all can find me on Twitter at @RobCroc or LinkedIn or whatever, but happy to get people going on Figma. That course is great. That's why we made it. And yeah, best of luck.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I definitely am going to do that course, and hopefully that will kick myself and a lot of other people off into the world of Figma. That'd be great.
Yes.
I know we did have Erik that's wanting to do a quick mobile, but Sedale, do you want to just quickly run through those other slides? We've just got 2 minutes. I know we're just 2 minutes over as well, and people are having to head off, but
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm happy to just leave this open if you guys want to do that example. I do have to leave to get a newborn to sleep, so
Oh
I'm
no.
gonna do that after these 2 slides.
Good luck.
But I did want to make sure that we had a chance to talk about speakers. As you guys see, we have amazing speakers. Thank you so much, Erik, Kimley, Robert. Part of that is because we will go out for speakers, but a lot of times people will suggest them. So if you're interested in speaking, or if you want to nominate someone to present at a Tableau user group meeting in the future, you can use this QR code. We will also share the link in our email. Speaking of future speakers, we've got a great group up next session, which will be our EU-US session at the end of the month. And we've got several awesome people there as well that'll be speaking. So look out for that. We'll start that promotion obviously after this session. So be on the lookout for those emails, and you can sign up at that point.
Cool.
That's all.
Yeah, so we might just sign off there, and then just Erik, if you want to do a quick share of, I believe you were going to share data stories in mobile, if I am.
This is just 30 seconds, and it really was just the punchline for the stories.
Yeah.
So once you've got it here, and this is really just a backdoor way for me to show Tableau mobile for a quick second. You click in, and of course it's cached. But there you go. You can see it's writing the stories, and the story's right there live in the middle of Tableau mobile. This is an auto-gen layout, but you can, of course, customize it to your heart's content. That was the one little bit that I forgot the first time around. So there, now it's recorded. Thanks for the extra couple of seconds.
You're more than welcome, and thank you very much, Erik, for all of your answering questions and for the demo. And thank you very much to Rob and Kimley as well. Really appreciated the session. I appreciated your time, and it's always just lovely to connect as well. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody else who had joined today and chatted with us on the chats and put through your questions and answers. Thanks very much, guys. See you later.
Bye, everyone.